Hey everyone, this is James from TB bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today I am going to be talking a little bit about green tea Pu'erh and how Pu'erh has been aging for me, as well as drinking the 2015 W2T Bosch, which is kind of a little bit of a suspect tea in my opinion. So I had this tea before, I think it was a normal episode, 125, September 29th, 2015. I looked this up. And I've always quite liked this tea, so it pains me a little bit to do this episode. Marco has talked about this tea a bit too throughout the years. There was a heated one. And now the tea is not very good. So Marco has done a couple posts, I think some on Discord, some on his actual blog, where he's talking about how these teas are aging. And he compared the Pu'erh to the to a 7542, and fortunately the 7542 does seem to be doing a bit better. This is all sort of inspired also by the Marshall post from about a year or so ago on green tea Pu'erh, where he drank through some Yunnan sourcing ones. Interestingly, I've drank through Yunnan sourcing ones. I found them to be a little bit less suspect than some of the other teas that I have. So I ended up splitting up a cake of Bosch around to different people, one that I'd been storing. And, you know, I've stored quite a few teas, and most of them are not turning out exactly like this. So thought this would be an interesting one to bring onto an episode and just show. So yeah, here we are on the Bosch. So one thing that Marshall really notes is that the session is eventually taken over by overwhelming bitter notes as it brews, and it tastes very much like stale green tea, especially kind of that resolution of the aftertaste. So here we go. So I have, as a result, kind of steeped this out fairly far, and trying to get into some of those later steeps here. Okay, so that is really grassy, really astringent. We are talking about like something like the steep 5. We're still on relatively quick brews. Ooh, yeah, this is getting worse steep by steep. So that's the interesting part, is it does start out kind of okay, and you can sort of see, oh yeah, I see the appeal here. So if you just stopped at like steep 3 or 4, you might think the tea is okay. But at this point, this tea is getting pretty nasty. It's definitely tastes, I mean, I don't drink stale green tea. I don't even drink much green tea, but I could sort of see that comparison. It's just grassy and really bitter and has not really developed much age taste whatsoever. Now, what's interesting too is Marco actually heats his tea. So we're talking about fairly different storage conditions here. But I can tell you that the young tea I have stored mostly has not turned out like this. Interestingly, I actually drank a couple other white teas from 2017 and 2016 the other day. And those were fine. So I think it really is storage dependent on which production. And I mean, white tea does tend to do blends as well. So, you know, you could have these scenarios where, and I'm not talking about white tea so much as just in general, where you have some blended material there where some of it is a little bit bad and some of the rest of the material is fine. And this is really, really lingering. So this is, that last tea was pretty nasty. I was starting to second guess myself as I would smell the tea brew out. But we're getting a lot of grassy, nutty notes, very young notes coming off of this here. So yeah, you certainly can't win them all, and it is too bad that this is going in this direction. So yeah, I think I will be, you know, sending the cake out to other people just as kind of an educational aspect. I've sent it to a couple of people, and then more or less confirmed what I suspected. Really bitter, really floral. It's not resolving either. And you see how short I infuse that too. We're talking about 4 grams, about 70 milliliters, and we're talking about like steep 6 or so. So the tea is not in a good place right now. I suspect it's green tea Pu'erh. I couldn't say for sure because, you know, I'm just not quite confident enough in those things. But that's kind of where we're at with this tea. So yeah, definitely a little bit of a painful episode to do because, you know, I always like white tea and stuff. And I do think not all their tea is green tea Pu'erh or whatsoever. But this one is not heading in a good path, unfortunately. So yeah, just going to take one last sip to confirm. Yeah, it's not good. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. And I will see y'all next time. Hopefully this video was at least educational for some of you out there. So really read that Martian post. I will remember to hopefully link it in the description below. I think that is probably a very valuable post just to see how some of these teas are aging. And I think we're at the point when we're talking about 10 or 11 years where we can really start to test some of these teas and see how they are doing. And this tea was really quite lovely years ago. So it is too bad kind of the direction it has gone. So thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.